Lay back, unwind. Groove to the rhythm, it'll soothe your mind. Live, laugh, light, throw some shade along the way. Oh, please behave. Some might say, oh, let's go. It's time to turn on your radio. Rhymes will flow, just so you know. You're kicking it, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. Oh, let's go.
Hey y'all, what's up? Thank you for tuning in to the Kicking It with K Marie podcast. I'm your girl, K Marie, and I know it's been a minute. Y'all know I'm on my movie thing, so yeah, that's what I've been kind of busy doing, working on my second film, my second short. And just to let you know, those who are tuning in for the first time, this podcast, Kicking It with K Marie, is about the culture. Okay, I bring in experts from time to time, and to help give you advice, help you just live this life. Just to give you the tools that we need to live this life. And of course, we have heavy issues, we have fun topics. You have a ball here, and I just started a Patreon. So if you go to the Patreon, Kicking It with K, I will have a description in the link of this episode. And there, just briefly, you all will be able to see us record live. It's going to be upcoming shows for Patreons only. It's a whole bunch of benefits that you guys can get. So you really, really, really want to check that out. And I'll start coming up with the new shows. I already know what I want to do when I get at least 10, starting off with 10 Patreons. So, like I said, it's brand spanking new. So, if you guys want to jump on that, and it's very affordable, and I have a whole video telling you what you get and what your money will go towards. Okay. So, y'all, look, like I said, I've been busy on my film thing, trying to get my Jordan Peele on, my short fun and games. I know I spoke with you all. We were selected in the Shock Fest Film Festival that has come and gone, and it was great. And we are another selection in another film festival, and that was great. And it's just going to make its rounds in the film festival circuit, and that's why I can't release it publicly just yet. But just stay tuned, y'all. It's some good things coming down the pipeline with Kicking It with K Marie and with this me myself. Okay. I have a very, very special series, two-part series that I want to do. Some of you know that I work with small children and teenagers. And y'all know I'm about my people. Y'all know this, right? You know me long enough. And I have people that's in my life now that are considered nerds, because they like different things. And we know in our community, nerds or anybody that just appear to be different is treated differently, and it shouldn't be that way. And we're going to get into that. We have a very, very special guest. But before I introduce our guest, I want you to like, share, and subscribe to whatever platform that you are listening to us on. We stream on every streaming platform, wherever you listen to podcasts, except for Tidal. I just, I like Tidal, but yeah. But iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, Audible, all of that, you can find Kicking It with K Marie podcast. So today's guest, I'm very excited about today's guest. I ran across an article that he did back in 2019. And since I'm talking about this topic, I'm like, oh, he'll be perfect for this episode. So let me introduce you all to the guest today. Kyeland Jackson covers the St. Paul Police as a Metro reporter for the Star Tribune. Before taking his role, Kalen worked as a data reporter for Twin Cities Public Television through Report for America program. His focus was on using leads from data to produce written and broadcast stories about racial inequality inequality, excuse me, in Minnesota. He holds a bachelor's and master's degree in communications from the University of Louisville and was raised in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. I believe Elizabethtown was a movie. I think I saw that with the guy that played the elf in Orlando Bloom, right? His hobbies include watching anime, tending to his collection of houseplants, and being outdoors. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I want to introduce you to and welcome to the podcast, Kyeland Jackson.
Hey,
Hi.
K. Marie. Thanks for having me. And you're absolutely right. Orlando Bloom was in Elizabethtown, and it's pretty much what we've got to our namesake there.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember seeing that movie. I remember where I was. I was in Toronto. That's one of my favorite cities because I'm in Michigan, so it's like 4 hours away.
Oh,
So, yeah, we went to the, um, so we stayed in a hostel like the first 2 nights with my friends. I was all for it, but the other two friends, they was like, no, we want to go to a hotel the next night. But the first night we stayed in a hostel, and around the corner was the Paramount movie theater, and we saw Elizabethtown. I was like, you can't go wrong with Orlando Bloom. Back then I was like, okay, Lord of the Rings, the elf. I was like, oh, he cute. So, but I did not enjoy the movie.
yeah. I can't even say that I said it or I've seen it myself, but definitely agreeing with you on saying Orlando Bloom pretty much can't miss in anything else. I mean, Lord of the Rings,
Right.
especially. Yeah, just that by itself,
Yes.
he gets a pass for a lot.
Yes. Oh, Orlando, where is he now?
That's a good
I
question.
wonder.
I haven't seen him in anything.
All right, y'all. Before we really get into the topic, y'all know that I last season I introduced a new segment called "What in the World." So, for those who are looking at the podcast, you can look at it on YouTube. Um, I had my cheesy graphics up there. So, what in the world? So, what in the world is usually stories from around the world. It could be around the world. It could be here in our own backyard. This one is not too much of a shocker, but I know that both of us, we live in states where we have some hard winters. Yeah.
Hmm.
So now this is a story that was out in Washington. So it says a Washington State Patrol trooper issued a $533 ticket to a driver after the person drove more than 5 miles with their vehicle and windshield almost completely covered in snow. It says Trooper Heather Weatherwax, that's a name for you, said the state patrol received a report about a person driving erratically along the SR 16 south of Bremerton. When pulled over, the driver reportedly told the trooper that their windshield wipers wasn't working. The driver received a $53 ticket for second degree negligent driving. So, Kaylin, I don't know how they do it where you're from, but in Michigan, we see that a lot because people just lazy. They don't, and that's dangerous.
Ooh, I haven't seen too much of that, but I've seen it here and there. And even the little bits I do see, it is extra dangerous. I mean, even today it's like 12 degrees. I think a low of 2 degrees it's supposed to be
Oh
today.
wow!
So the last thing that anyone needs is a bunch of snow on their windshield when the roads are already basically an ice rink.
Right now, what like I said, I see it. I see it often here in Michigan, and while I do wipe it off of my windshield, I have been known to still have some on the hood.
Yeah, same, same.
On the hood, like at the top, and then like the hood, and where it's, especially if it's like when you're driving, it's windy, it's flying all over the place. I mean, that's not good either. But
Yeah, I'm always apologizing to other drivers, at least in my mind, when that happens. But I mean, we got places to be. We got work to get to. I can't do everything for
exactly,
all.
exactly. So, but that's a pretty stiff ticket though, a $553 ticket. But people, the moral of the story: if you live somewhere where you get some harsh winter, some snow, just take the extra time and just wipe it off. Okay, you don't want a ticket.
I bet whoever got that ticket, they're not gonna go with snow on their windshield anymore.
Oh no, no, they're gonna be out extra early. Set the alarm clock early and make sure they get up and wipe off that snow. But yeah, so that's I have seen that around. Okay, so like I was telling the good people, I want to talk about blurs. And I know some people probably hearing that term maybe for the first time. It's basically a black nerd. So again, I came across your article, Revenge of the Blerds, Black Representation in Nerd Culture. Now, I know the type of material that you do write. So, what made you want to write this piece?
Um, a lot of what drove me then was just me seeing a change.
Mm,
This was around the time that Black Panther had already come out. So there was a lot of just waves that that was making among our community,
mm-hmm,
among communities of other people of color. And it was really one of the first times that I had seen nerd culture, at least to such a huge extent, really being like encouraged with kids, with
mm.
other people. It was kind of like a like a revenge, essentially.
Yeah.
Um, at least for me, this was a long time coming of knowing other black nerds, knowing other people who were nerdy but were maybe outcast because of that, um, getting their chance to shine or to say, hey, I already knew about the Black Panther comics,
Mm-hmm.
or hey, I've been reading comics as a nerd, as a comic nerd for decades. Here's some background on it, and to not feel outcast because of that.
Mm-hmm. So, when I think most people, when they hear the word nerd, there's a specific image that comes to mind, right? Like the Steve Urkel type, with the flood pants and the suspenders. I don't know how that came to be, but
I don't know. The suspenders completed though.
right. So people think about that, but when I looked up the definition, it's just basically a person that is, really intelligent. The definition I read is that intelligent, really into the science and math. Um, Social sometimes can be socially awkward, really introverted. What is your definition, if you can give one, of a nerd? Since you identify as a blerd, yeah.
Yep.
So, what? Give us your interpretation of that.
I mean, a lot of what you said lines up with what I think of it, but in my mind, and generally, a nerd is someone who just has a really deep interest, really deep, like love, passion, whatever you can call it, for something that's really niche that a lot of people may not know about.
Hmm.
So I feel like there are different kinds of nerds. There
Hmm.
are comic book nerds, like I mentioned before. There are anime nerds. There are video game nerds, sci-fi nerds. Kind of you name it. There's a different kind of nerd for everything. But I think what really makes someone a nerd is because what they're really nerdy about is something that maybe a lot of people don't know about, or
Hmm.
that not many people are in the community of in the first place. So in a lot of ways, nerds are kind of trailblazers depending on what they're really nerdy about.
That's true. Now, I I have some nerdish ways, but I fancy myself more as like geek a geek. Like it's different things I'm like fans of. Like I'm a huge movie buff, you know, just different things like that. Geek and I and a weirdo. I remember it's so refreshing, and I didn't expect people to react the way that they did. Like several months ago on my personal Facebook page. Yeah, I'm a certain age, so I'm on Facebook. So,
Oh, what
so
that say
on
with me then?
so on my personal excuse me Facebook page, I don't know. I was reading something that just inspired me to just say this stat. I said I am a proud weirdo, and I said, and I embrace it. You know, like growing up, I've heard people say, "Girl, you weird." But like I said, I embrace it, and I said that on my stat, and I was so shocked by people like liking it and like, yes, me too. And I'm like, oh wow, okay. I was like, it's here for the real weirdos, because I like when Pharrell he is a huge advocate for embrace the weirdness, just
Mm,
embrace it. And again, that's what I really want to get across in these two episodes, because I really want to speak to the youth. Um, because again, I have people in my life now that falls under this. They love anime, uh, comic books, gaming, all of that. And I wanted to into that interest as well. Like, let me know they like this, so let me look into this as well.
oh yeah.
So this past November, we had YomaCon here in Detroit, and I bought us 3-day passes. To my first time attending any kind of con. So and it was I had a ball. I had a ball. I love the whole cosplay aspect because I'm a person, I like to dress up anyway, whether it's 9 to 5, not 9 to 5, but like a cocktail, after 9, or if it's like a costume. I love dressing up. So they got me with the cosplay. So I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna like it here. But but so yeah, so I experienced that for the first time, and just to see people just be free in that element. And it was a lot of, it's a mixture of people, but it was a lot of black folk too. I'm like, wow. So okay, y'all, I'm loving it.
Ooh, absolutely. Even with me, I had my first con experience around the time I wrote that article, actually. There was a con that came to Louisville, Kentucky. I went with a friend of mine. Didn't have time to cosplay, so I just threw on a kind of nerdy t-shirt, I think an
Hmm.
anime shirt. And it's like you said, it was a really big sense of freedom, a kind of a
Hmm.
relief going there, a feeling that like, oh, I can definitely nerd out about this 90s anime, somebody having
Hmm.
a Trigun poster or a Cowboy Bebop poster that I can go into it with them and them not feel like taken aback or,
Right.
weirded out. There's spaces for us to really get to just be, which especially for our culture, for people of color, is really important for us. Just gives space to just be and take that weight off of your shoulders.
It is, and I found it really refreshing. I really did. And the people that I was with, it was a teenager as well, and he was just in his element. He was just having a ball, and I was loving it. But so do you have any personal stories, like just growing up? Did you ever feel like you were felt like an outcast, or did people make fun of you for liking different stuff, or did you hide it? Let us know about your experience growing up as a Blerd.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my experience was that a lot of being made fun of, a lot of bullying at times.
Mm.
it was kind of, especially being like a lot of my nerdy things were like reading manga, like the book versions of anime, um, watching a lot of anime, video games, and I was a lot more introverted at that time. And especially in schools, kids are kind of really mean,
Kids
and if
are
you
mean.
the kids are really mean, and if you stand out more so than others, you're easier or more liable at times to get picked on.
Hmm.
So that was a lot of my experience coming through like middle school, a bit of elementary school, but at least for me, it gave me a kind of a chip on my shoulder kind of mentality. It's like, okay, so they want to outcast me, but at the same time, you just have to, at the end of the day, just kind of believe more in yourself than that. There are different waves of what is cool and what is socially acceptable, I
Hmm.
guess. But I just kind of tried to keep my head on straight and push past that. And sure enough, after high school, after college, those things weren't really as important as people who made fun of me at the time made it seem to be.
Hmm.
And now we circle around to now. A lot of the people that made fun of me then, or that were not so along the lines of liking anime, liking the nerdier things I was doing then, are the same ones that are saying, "Oh, have you watched that new
Oh
Naruto
wow.
episode? It's so cool. Oh, I'm gonna put it on my background. I'm wearing shirts now." It's like
Wow.
it just took them a minute to get up to our speed.
Right. So in school, your middle school, well, elementary, middle school, or and or high school, were you ever at a point that you felt like pressured, like not to express your interests? And how did that go? If that if that was the case.
I think the heaviest I felt it was middle school.
Mm,
Um, the pressure to not show it was just because that was around the time that, the cool kids start to come out of the crowd, that being cool is seen as a thing. And where there are cool people, there are uncool people.
mhm.
And everyone's kind of put into essentially a caste system at that point.
Categories. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Kids are really terrible.
I know.
But they get better. They get better over time.
Yeah.
But there was that pressure. That was the most pressure at that time to kind of be more reclusive with a lot of the stuff that I
Mhm.
was in. But it kind of worked its way out that I just found my own crowd and was able to express it with them. So I made friends with some of the nerdier people, some of the people who were more into the things that I was into. And even if it was more of the uncool folks, it was people that I could feel myself around and
Mhm.
feel like I didn't have to necessarily pretend.
Mhm.
I don't keep up with many of them, but I just found one of them is now like a published Amazon book author. So it's
Oh,
like that kind of full circle Revenge of the Nerds kind of
yeah.
mentality is very much coming back because this was the same group of people that were picked on and made fun of.
Wow, that's something, and it do suck that kids are cruel, because when I went to school, we there were bullies and stuff like that, bullying kids that were different, um, and it's just unfortunate. It really is. So with the blurt culture, do you see it getting do you see it getting a little bit better or more accepted, I should say?
Absolutely. Blurred culture, it feels like, is finding its space. It's having a lot more of its moments. I think that Black Panther was one of the bigger hallmarks
Mm,
for the blurred community because it's like a huge Marvel cinematic like movie that everyone was watching at that time.
mhm.
Even Wakanda Forever we have now, and all of the
Yeah.
toys and lineups you get from that. But because of things like that, and because of even movies going back to the first Blade with Wesley Snipes, or
Ugh,
going to Static Shock, going to
I used to
the
love
Black
Static
Power
Shock.
Rangers. Ooh, everybody loves Static Shock.
Oh, I love Static Shock.
I'm waiting for the day that I can dress up as Static for Halloween. It may not
of
happen, but
Halloween. Okay, I saw one at the Yomicon. Somebody was dressed up as Static Shock.
oh my god,
It had the little. He was like on a little hoverboard type thing too. I was
he even
like,
had the
okay,
hoverboard.
yes, he went out.
You see, that's beautiful to see. It really is. And even like even outside of seeing other people in real life who are into nerddom, into being a blerd and being outward about it, you see more of that, but you also see more just black representation in anime, in movies, in nerdish kind of culture. It's just become more acceptable to the point that it's becoming less out of the ordinary to see black faces in nerdy spaces.
Yeah, excuse me. I agree with you on that. And for those who are listening, and you participated and you dressed up when the first Black Panther came out, that's cosplay. Okay, that's
It,
we were out here. Yeah, we were out here. You know, I had on my African garb, everything. You know, so. But yeah, it's I do believe that, like you said, like the nerddom and blurs are coming into their own, but I still think too that there's still a lot of things to be done as well. Because when I did go to Yomicon, the guest that will be on here in 2 weeks, their podcast host, I was at their panel, and to hear what the people in the crowd were saying, I'm like, wow. Because a lot of like this part of it, like the anime, the like I said, the cons and stuff like that, that's new for me. So to hear what people still, black people, still going through, like you mentioned, they were saying that now they're starting to see a little bit more black representation in like anime and things of that nature. But they're still saying that it's still, not only are they, from what I was hearing from the people that was in the audience, not only do they get like flack like from their people, but they were saying that it's still kind of heavily uh white dominated.
Mhm.
You know, I heard a lot of that. I was like, wow.
Yeah, and especially when I think of roles that I've been in more anime that I've seen, or even sometimes manga, even when it's black representation, there's still issues sometimes of it being more stereotypes,
Mm,
of it being what they believe is a stereotypical black man or a stereotypical black woman,
hmm.
and even the way that those characters are made to look, made to act. There's still a lot of work that it feels like needs to be done.
That's a shame, but I'm glad it's coming up on. It looks like it's going in the right direction. That's what it's look like it's doing.
Yeah, so it's getting there. It's just taking a lot of time. And I think especially there's more pushback on people trying to make moves in those kind of spaces where I feel like they just need more blurred support.
Yeah.
When you think of even the Miles Morales for
Mm,
Spider-Man, when you think of
yeah.
that, there was pushback on even including
Yes.
him as a character because he's a
Yeah.
black male
Because the
character.
black.
Mhm.
And then we just saw with the Little Mermaid. I'm like, these
Yes.
are freaking fictional
Yes.
characters. Why
Mhm.
are you up in arms? You know that she's black.
I
I
swear,
just, mm,
a lot of moms in soccer vans were ready to mobilize and attack anyone who was supporting Ariel as like a black Little Mermaid. And that kind of pushback needs more support in response.
mhm.
Because you have to think these actors, these voice actors, people who are trying to make headway are probably getting even more pushback behind the scenes that we don't see.
True. And then another thing I heard as well, like because you mentioned the voice actors. Excuse me. that with some of the black characters in anime, it's not voiced by black people.
Yes.
I'm like, what? Because I
Mhm.
haven't started with anime yet. I've been given like a little list to start with. But when I was I did watch Sailor Moon at one point
Okay. That's
some some years ago, but that was like the extent of my anime watching. But I said I was going to, look at some other things. But I was like, what? So they're like, you have a non-black voicing black anime characters?
Yes, it's crazy to think of, and I'm not 100% an expert on this, but
Mhm.
a lot of times I've seen a lot of voice actors or big voice actors in anime are the same people taking the same roles for 5, 10, 15 characters within an anime. There's kind of sometimes a monopoly just on voice acting in the industry, and it takes work to break into that. But I mean, we're seeing some moves. Even I
Yeah.
think of when you mentioned Sailor Moon, I thought of Afro Samurai, and that's one where Samuel Jackson was one of the voices in it,
Mm.
or of Yasuke on Netflix. That's one that was I think Thundercat. He did some of the music, I believe, some of the work on that. um, Flying Lotus, a very prominent black producer. He also helped with the music and with the production of it. You have a black main character who plays
Mhm.
in that, and that was only released in the last like 5 years or so.
Oh
So
wow.
there is, it seems like, more work, um, little by little, kind of
Yeah.
stepping its way up there to where we're seeing more representation in the voice actors and in the characters that we see. But there's still work to do.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I when I was getting my list of anime shows to start with, first of all, I was almost cussed out because I said it's just a cartoon. Y'all, listen. Those who do not know, is they're different. Because I was like, what's the difference? It's a cartoon. Yeah, I almost got cussed out, but by a whole bunch of people. I was at a party for my nephew and my brother's one of his longtime friends, his wife and their kids. They're all into anime, and when I said that, I just like felt like everybody just looking at me. Like I was like, wait, did I say something wrong? Like what?
For all the eyes just look at you like,
Right. I was like, okay, so I know that is a difference. It's cartoons and anime is totally different, y'all. For those who don't know, it's
yeah,
different.
I mean, there's a lot of people who won't like step on your toes or anything about that, but like you experience, there are others who will. They will fight you
Yeah, I
tooth and
almost chopped
nail.
my head off. I'm like, wow, okay. But but I just need to find my um what I'm interested in because I heard about One Piece. They're like, no, you don't start with that one
Oh
because
God,
I heard
no.
it's like thousands of episodes. But yeah, but
Okay, Marie, it'll be about 20 or 30 or something by the time that you would catch up to that. That's how many episodes it feels like there is.
wow. So are there like black only anime shows or we're not there yet?
Not that I've seen, but that doesn't mean that there aren't some out there,
Mm,
especially ones that might not be produced in America. There may be some like more African produced anime that are out there, or more anime in America that I don't know of.
mm,
But not a lot come to mind. Yasuke, I think, is a really good and easy one because it's on Netflix, because it's like 12 episodes. It's the one that I mentioned with Thundercat, with Flying Lotus. That one feels like a pretty easy intro that's like still kind of fantastic, kind of like big anime battles and stuff, but still has a bit of like not too much that it's like you're way out of left field. But besides that, there's not too many. At least in a lot of anime that you'll see get a lot of marketing behind it that'll get a
Mm-hmm.
lot of attention. There may be black characters in it, sometimes a couple, sometimes fewer, but to have like maybe a full black cast in an anime, rare, very, very rare if I've seen it
Wow.
at all.
Mm. So going back to your article, because I know you interviewed Aaron, right? And so what did you okay in writing that piece and interviewing Aaron? I forget his last name. I'm sorry.
Magruder, I
Um,
believe.
yeah, it's Max something. Yeah, I remember. But was it something that you learned in writing that piece that you haven't before?
Um, Not too much that I learned, but I think a lot was put into context for me just doing that
Mm,
interview. Aaron is a lot like me in terms of grew up being a nerd, grew up not seeing a lot of black representation, except for a couple of characters. The Black Power Ranger, the one black person in Captain Planet of the like five Planeteers. You get like little crumbs that we've had of
yeah.
representation, but you're seeing more of it now in more media, in different spaces. And Aaron, for me, was a good example of that in how, and just putting it into context for me, because now he's a firearms instructor in Kentucky, helping other people of color get their firearms licensing.
Yes, get your
Um,
license, people. I'm a proud CPL holder.
And to get like the correct training,
Yes.
the skills sets that are with it, and like just informing people about that. He's doing representation in a space that is or has not been, at least that we see, traditionally owned by black faces or by faces from people of color. But he's making some kind of headway by trying to occupy that space and trying to teach up and get more people to learn about it so that more people can do it. I think that's kind of what's being done in anime and in Blurreddom that we're seeing. Chadwick Boseman made a huge leaps in that with
You
Black
did.
Panther, but we need more people to
Yeah,
continue on that kind of work in different spaces.
I agree. I really agree. And representation, we talk about it here a lot on the podcast. Representation, it matters. It really matters to see someone like you on TV, film, or any type of media outlet. It really does matter. That's one reason for me as a filmmaker. I My goal is to make sure that we are represented in front of the camera and behind the camera. Because when you're not shown, a lot of people don't know, especially when you're little, you don't know that you can do that. But when you see like kids now, they had the first black president, they have that hope like I can be president, because we had the first black president. So representation, it really does, it does matter a whole lot. And what would you tell parents who might be looking at this and who probably can't relate to their child because of the different interests and hobbies that they have, because they're nerds? What advice would you give to them to try and relate to their child?
Um, I guess the only advice I can try to think of is to embrace it and try to join in it. I mean, especially for a lot of kids who are coming up, they're already going to feel marginalized, pushed out by society, by groups, by
Mhm.
the cool kids on the
Mhm.
playground. So what they really need is someone to say that, no, that's fine, what you're doing, what you're into. To say that it's cool to be into that,
Mhm.
or at least that it's okay. Even for my parents, they weren't necessarily like involved to the point of watching anime with me or of um like well, sometimes they played the video games I might play with me,
Mhm.
but they weren't like involved enough to say like go to a con with me. but they would support me going to one in the first place.
Mhm.
Or they would go with me for a midnight release of Harry Potter because that's what I'm into.
Mhm.
It's small bits and pieces that you can do that may not feel like a lot for you or for the kid at the moment, but it can mean the world just over time. They just need those little bits of support wherever you can give it to let them know that it's okay because, yeah, the world will try and tell them that it's not for a long, long time until all of a sudden society says, or comes back
Right.
around and says, that thing that we were making fun of you of, actually, it's pretty cool. We're going to start a whole lineup of clothing and everything that's going to be right along
Mhm.
with what you were into. It
Mhm.
just takes time.
It does. And lastly, like what would you say to say if it's a child or a teenager, preteen teenager that's watching this, what can you say to him or her um being this being in this at this stage of life since you grew up in that nerddom, what can you say to them? What would you say to them?
I can say that don't listen to the haters. Um, Listen to yourself, listen to what you're into, your passions, and believe me, it'll work out at the end. Especially a lot of when I was going through middle school, through high school, and dealing with that bullying and that kind of that negative attention I received, there were times I thought like maybe I just shouldn't be into these things, or maybe I should try to be cooler and try to force myself out
Mm-hmm.
of the things that I'm into. That's not to say that you shouldn't experiment and see
Mm-hmm.
like what kind of things you might be into, but you love what you love. Don't let other people try and make you feel otherwise. If you find your crowd, somebody that also agrees with you, they're out there and they'll make you realize just how much the thing that you're into is perfectly normal and that there's a whole community behind it. Especially nowadays, you can find people to support you. You just got to look for them.
I like that. And just to piggyback on you, just find your tribe. Find your tribe. Like you were saying, there are people who have the same interests, who have the same hobbies. Be yourself. And I know, when you're a kid, when you're a preteen or teenager, I know like it's easy for us to say just be yourself. Because we were a teenager and a preteen once, so it's peer pressure and all of that stuff. But nowadays, I believe kids have it a little bit, just a little bit easier, even though bullying is on another level with the cyber.
Mhm.
But just again, just find your tribe and embrace your uniqueness, embrace your differences, embrace that, because that's you, that's part of you. You looking at two people here, successful. Kaylin is a successful journalist, writer. And I'm up here podcasting and movie making and a host of other things. I embrace. It took me a minute, I'm not gonna lie, but I embrace everything about me, and you all should too.
And especially piggybacking on what you said about that success piece, a lot of the people that I knew of who are black nerds or into that are either already successful or are becoming more successful. And a lot of those people who made fun of you, they're not going to be on the same level. You just really
They're
got to
not.
believe in yourself.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of them, a lot of people peak in high school. That's
Hmm.
as good as it's going to get for some folk. But so don't wish that, wish I was like that person. Don't compare yourself to other people too. That's a whole nother topic, but yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, what's that saying that like if you tell a fish that the way it tries to climb up a tree is wrong, then it's going to
Mm,
believe that it's been wrong all of its life? Something
mm.
like that.
Yeah,
Like,
something like that.
yeah, you can't compare yourself to other people's life journeys. And the same can go with their interests and the things that you're in. the more that you lean into your strengths, into your passions, into the things that you're into, the more you find yourself, and the more that your blessings in life will literally just come to you. I mean, I'm lucky to say I'm in this space and I can still wake up in the morning, watch anime, read my manga because I did that this morning, and still be able to talk about how much of an influence that has on my life and the things that
Mm,
I do as a writer, as a creative. You can still find ways to progress in life and to lean into your passions. Don't let people take
yes.
that away from you.
Yes, I agree. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Can you let the people know where they can find you? Can they can find your writings and all the stuff that you want us to know about you?
Sure. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm just at Kyeland J. That's Kyelandj. If you search my name, it's pretty much going to bring up everything about me. My name's a bit too unique, so I'm not that hard to find. But yeah, especially for people just looking for support, looking for tips, or just looking to talk, I'm an open resource. So please reach out to me. I'm there to talk.
And we will have Kaylin's information in the description of this episode. And thank you so much, Kaylin. I really enjoyed this conversation. And I really believe that it will help people. I believe that it will shed some light to people who are maybe new to this. Those who probably been hating on other people, stop
Hmm.
it. You know,
Hmm.
embrace other people's differences. And just thank you. I just really enjoyed this topic, and I enjoyed this episode, this conversation. And again, you all, this is going to be a two-parter. In 2 weeks, we're going to have the guys of Two Black Two Nerdy podcast on to talk about just expound on um, nerddom and being blurs and all of that good stuff because it is good. Okay. All right, y'all. So again, just like, share, and subscribe if you are raising a blurred. If you are a blurred, share this podcast. Share it so people can get this a better understanding and won't be taken aback with other people differences. Because we're all in this life together. So it doesn't make sense to be at each other. So just unity is the name of the game. So thank you guys. Kayla, don't click out here, but I'm going to close out the show.
Hmm.
I will see you all in 2 weeks because I'm doing every 2 weeks now because your girl is busy and I still want to do the podcast. So I'll see you when I see you. Bye.
Oh, let's go. Let's go. It's time to turn up your radio. Turn up the radio. Just so you know, you're kicking it with K. That's all I'm gonna say. You're here now.